Buddy, I'm Jim. This is Warren. You're watching Talking Vintage Vendor Corner, brought to you by Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot. This is show number 14. 14. Wow, that's a lot.
It's Sunday.
It's Sunday, 8 p.m. We appreciate you guys joining us. Like I said, I'm Jim. That's Warren. We are vendors at Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot, and I'm also the owner of Decades
You are.
Reclaimed Vintage Depot. Why are you guys even here? This show is for people who are vendors in shops like Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot. We try to give you an insight of what we go through behind the scenes here at Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot, and hopefully something that we say will resonate with you and help you out in your quest to be the best possible vendor, booth owner, small space in a mall owner, whatever you want to call yourself. So there we go. We have a topic tonight. I don't know if we have one or two topics, but we will start off. It looks like we just have one topic tonight. Must be a big topic.
Must be.
Yeah.
I saw 3 pages there.
Okay, here it goes. Our topic for this evening is I got kicked out of my booth.
Oh, no.
Yes, I got kicked out of my booth. I was curious when I read a post. I don't know where it was. It was on the web somewhere. I read a post about somebody getting kicked out of their booth. And to be honest with you, I can't remember why they got kicked out, but I was curious to why people would get kicked out of their booth. So I put the question out there to people, and these are kind of the answers I've gotten back. So the biggest thing in my question that I wanted to know, because I've heard this for years and years, I've heard this at different places, not here at Decades, but if you don't sell 3 times your rent, you get booted.
That's crazy.
I had heard that. And everywhere I traveled, when I travel, I go to vintage places, and, you know, I ask, well, do you kick vendors out if they don't sell 3 times their rent? No. And I thought it was a myth. I really did. So I put the question out there. I said, fact or fiction? And so we got some answers. So let's go over those right now. I found out the answer is yes. It's not a norm, but yeah, the answer is yes. And I was surprised because, that's what I said. Wow, I didn't really think that could happen. But other reasons why people were getting kicked out, I was told that they would include not working their booth on a regular basis. I kind of get that. Not following the rules. I kind of get that. Creating drama. We have a little bit of that here from time
But
to
when
time.
you had so many people in one place.
Yeah. We have 50 plus booth owners in here, and yeah, you're going to get a little bit. Not meeting expectations.
It could be.
I mean, really. Removed from their area or kicked out for making suggestions for improvements. Now, stop right there. I did that same thing. I said, really? There's got to be more to that story.
Yeah.
There's got to be.
Yeah.
I mean, because, people here make suggestions all the time. I wouldn't kick them out for it. I'm just, either I agree or I don't agree, or I explain why or why not. We can or can't do that, But, yeah, there has to be something else to that. Has to be something else
I
to that.
wouldn't
Yeah.
want to be in that place, If
Yeah.
I know that going in. I'd never go in.
Yeah, being rude. Somebody got kicked out for being rude. Okay, more than a few people in this thing kept referring back to what's in the contract. So, I guess if being rude, you can't be rude, is in the contract, you get kicked out, or if the contract says 3 times your rent, or you can get kicked out, or if the contract says break any rules, you can get kicked out. Everybody was referring back to the contract. But I don't know. I think that was just an easy way to get out of the question, really, because, okay, let's go back to the person that got kicked out for not meeting expectations. How could you convey the expectations in a contract? The contract would be this big, really. I mean, it would be, you'd need a lawyer to read the contract. Come on now. So it can't just be that. And I understand there's contractual stuff that we have here at Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot. And if you broke that contractual stuff, then yeah, you would probably be asked to leave, but basically you would have already left, really. Abandonment, it's the only thing I can think of. People, when they abandon their booth and just don't show back up, haven't paid their rent, it becomes property of Decades. I move it out, sell it, do whatever, and re-rent the space. So that is that for as far as the contract goes. Yeah, so, you got anything to say about that?
No, not, you're hitting it, you're right on, you're right on the mark.
Oh, here's a good one. They got kicked out because they got pregnant.
Huh?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
You can't. That was crazy. And of
Whoa.
course, everybody, when they said that, said exactly what you did in a comment below it. You know, how can that happen? Get a lawyer, you know, blah, 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 blah.
Wow.
Yeah. But they got kicked out because they got pregnant and the store felt that they would be unreliable. Yeah.
You still can't do
I'm
that.
shocked. Yep.
Wow.
Somebody said they got, or I don't know if it was them. I hope it wasn't them. They said got kicked out for stealing from other vendors.
I hope you got kicked out.
Yeah.
Hope they kick you away in handcuffs. You
Yeah,
know, I mean,
yeah.
That's thievery. You
Somebody
can't do
else said that someone got kicked out of their mall or shop for picking fights with the owner in front of customers.
You can't, but they, nah.
Yeah.
You can't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I mean, really, if it's a fight, then he or she, as the owner, has to fight back. I wouldn't fight back. I would just say we can save this for
See ya.
another time, and then then I'd show them the door.
Wow.
We already said it. Not paying the rent, abandoning your booth. That would be the big no here at
Yeah.
Decades, probably.
You know, that doesn't happen, does that?
But
These-
it has happened a
Has it
couple
happened a
times.
couple
Yeah, they
times?
just don't
Okay.
pay the rent, and they come in, and it's been 2 or 3 months, and I'm like, well, your stuff is gone. I sold it. After 30 days, it became mine. You still owe for the rent, and of course, they're not going to pay that.
Sure.
They're just going to walk out the door, which is fine too. Another one is mistreatment of staff.
What is considered the?
I don't know, the people
you're-
behind the counter.
That's staff, and what about the people that are working the floor?
Yeah, I guess if another vendor mistreats it, I don't know. Nobody said about vendors fighting, but yeah. And then misogyny. I don't know if I'm saying that right. You know, just being like, yeah, being cruel to women
Yeah.
or whatever. I mean, really.
That's cruel part of being the pregnant part. I
Yeah.
still can't get over that one.
Yeah. Refusal to listen. Got kicked out for refusing to listen.
There's rules that have to be followed, so.
Yeah, they didn't go well into that one. I wanted to know more about that. Refused to listen. So, yep. The bottom line just seems to be for the anything that they get kicked out of, and there was a lot of people that did give explanations for why they were kicking. That people got kicked out, or even have this rule where the sell 3 times or whatever. It's all for the betterment of the shop. So you can't have people fighting with the owner. That's not going to help the shop out any. I guess you can't have people underperforming in the shop, because if somebody doesn't perform well, it's
It
it's a
reflects-
negative
yeah, it reflects
negative
on the shop,
yeah.
yeah.
So, but not everybody can be the top seller at the same time either. So, but I get it. I get all that. But everything that they said was, kick them out to better the shop or whatever. So even the person that somebody said that their booth wasn't appealing. The owner kicked them out because their booth wasn't appealing. I get it. There should have been a conversation there. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. I don't know.
I would hope so.
But that's for the betterment of the shop.
Well-
I mean, I would have to make somebody leave if they constantly brought in stuff that wasn't allowed here. We are a 10 or an 80-20, 80% vintage, 20% vintage like. So there's some stuff like we don't allow
Phone case.
phone cases and stuff like that. Anything that is made today in the same format, we don't allow in. So, but okay, people will say, well, albums are collectible. We're not talking about new albums, because people are not going out and purchasing brand new albums because they're very expensive now, and then bring them into a shop like Decades and reselling them. So that was an example somebody brought up to me when I said that. If it was made today in the same format, they weren't made for a long time.
Right.
So vinyls, most of the majority of vinyls were pressed back in the day. Now the pressings, yes, even though they're new, they're very expensive. You're just not going to see them here. And if they were here and somebody was willing to pay the money for them, whatever. Collectibles are they fall in that same category. We have Pokemon here. Pokemon was made back in the day, but it continues to be made today. but it's a collectible item. So we allow collectibles. That's part of that 20%. So, yeah, so I guess the bottom line is check your contract and then ask what is expected. Because we said that before, you'd have to have a contract this big in order to convey everything, but you need to ask, what is expected, or your owner should say, hey, we don't want that here, we don't want, that. And Warren and I have had the conversation, like, we don't do DVDs.
Right.
Because they are made in the same format that they're made today. And even though some of them might be collectible and people might collect them, they're not, I don't consider them collectible. They're not a collectible item.
A CD, the same way.
A CD too. Yeah. They are still pressed in that same format today. So if you went and bought Van Halen Diver Down on CD today, it would be the same CD that you could have bought when CDs first came out. Yeah.
80s?
And then other things like we frown upon VHS because they often don't work. The only ones that are really truly collectible seem to be the Disney ones. But even those, that's kind of a myth, getting 10,000 for a black label Disney one. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we don't allow those. Yeah. So that's it. It's what's in the contract. But yeah, you got to read your contract and you got to ask what is expected of you.
Communicate with your owner. Communicate with other people in the shop.
Yeah,
and, talk.
There you go.
I'm good at that.
You are good at that. All right, that's it for our show tonight. I'm Jim. That's Warren. This has been brought to you by Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot. Thanks for watching. It's Talking Vintage Vendor Corner. We will see you again in 2 weeks for another show. Say goodbye, Warren.
Say goodbye. I know they got the vendor booth talk corner there, what we look at a lot. Do they have actually a site for owners like yourself?
No,
that you
they
can talk
talk.
to each other.
They talk. They talk on that page.
Okay,
It's not
okay.
just
It's-
vendors on there.
But they don't do they identify?
Yeah, they
themselves?
do.
Oh,
I'm
do
an
they?
owner at a shop, blah, 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 blah.
Okay. I'd be curious and hear some of their, you hear-
Reasoning by why they kick people out?
Yeah, well.
They didn't insight on those. They answered, but they didn't insight.
Yeah.
Okay, let me read this little tad bit quick because this is my recent one. Let's see if there's anything anybody add to it. This is for these are odd rules. Close your shoes. Remember that one?
No.
Doesn't say why. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people said no odd rules. Ask odd rules, and they said no rules odd. As far as I know, and then odd is in the eyes of the beholder. Exactly.
Right.
That's why I'm asking
Yeah,
you.
right.
And the first one, somebody said that in the very first one. They would said, "What do you consider an odd rule?" And then somebody came back. I think he's asking us. No shit. Exactly. That's what I'm asking. Exactly.
Oh, gee.
Here we go.